Hello, 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 friends. Happy Monday. And it is a Monday for sure. We've been super duper busy today. Okay, make sure I got all my paint colors. Trying to get myself together here. I know I'm a few minutes early, but I was ready, so I'm going for it. If you're hopping on, say hello. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, just so it stays at the top for those that are watching it later. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So I've been diligently working on the YouTube channel. I spent like 6 hours yesterday. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that tech is not my thing, so I'm pretty proud of myself. So since Facebook is doing away with videos after 30 days, I was able to transfer some videos from the past to there, but I'm not sure why it kept some and then some it didn't. But what I do have is on there, and what I am recording from now forward will be on there, so that if it's after 30 days when you do your box, you can go over to YouTube and the video will be there, which I probably should have done a long time ago, but again, tech is not my thing. So once I get it finished and I get all the things where they are, I'll share it in this group just so you guys have a place to reference it, or you can subscribe to it or whatever, just so you know where to go. But that's it for that. But I'm proud of myself for getting that puppy going, because again, tech is not my thing. Okay, so we have 2 bench inserts. If you had, like I said before, if you have a box, or if you signed up after the bench box and you need a bench, I shared a link in the post before this, but you can always message me too and I can share the link if you need a bench. You don't have to use this on a bench, but they are made for the bench. You can use it on a shelf or tier tray or whatnot, but these are made for the bench. Okay, first things first, we're going to do the all year round one just because it's simple. I'm going with like neutrals all year round. For the greenery on the everyday one, I'm using, I don't know if you can see that, desert cactus. This is like one of my favorite greens. It's kind of like neutral, but still, I don't know. I just really like it. I'm going to tilt you down just a bit so you can see what I'm doing. See if I got to get closer like that. Okay, so here, I'm going to scoot down just a little bit more. If you're hopping on, say hi and whatnot. Let me pull up comments on here just in case. I finally got my iPad to log back into Facebook so that I can use my phone now, which is easier for me, but let me make sure I'm in the right spot. Yes, I am. Okay. And turn the volume down. Okay, see, I have comments on here, but I don't see them on there. Hello, Amanda. Hello, April. I know. Thank you, Amanda. I'm trying to figure out. No, it is not one set. It is 2. I figured it would be good to give you guys like an all year round one, just for the in between. And then I just felt like you needed something else too. So here we are. Okay, my desert cactus. I got 3 little wreaths here, 2 pieces of greenery, and then the top greenery. We're just going to take our sponge, big side down for anybody that's new. I always like to do the little dab off. Less paint is better. You can always have more paint, you can't take it off. Nice, smooth, even coats. And believe it or not, these bench inserts are pretty quick to paint. They're not super complicated. There was something else I had to tell you guys too, but I forgot. The YouTube channel, the bench if you need it, and there was one more thing. I guess hopefully it'll come to me. If you're watching this on the replay and you end up having questions, you can always drop them below. I always get notified for the most part that if there's any comments or anything new. So I always go back. Although sometimes Facebook is wonky. But see that smooth, even coats. I just love this green. See that? Isn't that so pretty? I really love that. Okay. I'm really bummed that I didn't think of this YouTube thing sooner, because I've lost 2 years worth of live videos. So that's unfortunate. And I even did some research and tried to dig and see if I could pull them out of deletion somehow. Nope, was unsuccessful. I even did a little research and Googled and see if anybody else was able to. But no, so I lost them. Which I really think is stupid that they do that, but nothing I can do about it now. Okay, so the green is done. Next thing we're gonna do is the glaze. So that's gonna be, if you're gonna do yours like mine, if you don't wanna do it like this, that's fine too. Green is done. Glaze is gonna be this piece, the frame, and all the banners, banner backings, I should say. Let me get my glaze out here. I put my glaze on with a sponge. You can do it with paper towel if you want. It's just it's so smooth, it just glides on. So you do it however you want, but it really takes minimal effort. I swear by this stuff. I've recommended it to everyone I know. Okay, there's that. That one. See how quick this is? And it really doesn't, like, a little bit of glaze goes a long way. And it dries fairly quick. That's what I like about it. And it doesn't smell horrid like stain does. Okay. Make sure. What have you guys been up to? It has been really hot here. I'm sure it's been hot most of everywhere. But I get to this point where, like, I love summer when it first happens, but then I'm like, I get kind of over it, which I'm sure everybody does. I wouldn't say that I'm ready for fall, because with fall, just like quickly comes winter. I feel like here in Ohio, you don't get really that much fall. You get fall for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's like, bam, winter. So I'm not really ready for that. I just wish we had more part of our seasons that allowed for more 70s longer. But can't control that. Now, on these banners, you could do every other color of something. I personally am doing all of mine stain, but my bench is black. I know some of you in the original box with the bench had stained your benches. So if you have a stained bench, maybe you could paint your banner pieces black, or even use some of that green. There's 2 banner pieces with the wreath on it though, so you definitely wouldn't want to make those green, because it would be green on green, but you could make it work. Okay, that's all the stain. You already know, most of you, that I swear by white spray paint, because my white paint is never as crisp as white spray paint. So I've already sprayed all my pieces white so they could dry ahead of time. This gather the 3 hearts and all the little dots. I'm going to do gray. And my gray is elephant gray. I know it's backwards to you guys, but... and I'm going to flip a little piece of tape over, because I find like when I do little pieces like these dots, instead of getting paint all over, I just flip a piece of paint over. When we paint orders, during the day, me and Lexi, we have like strips of tape that go across our whole desk, and sometimes we'll use the little rollers and just we paint large amounts at a time. But for this little bit, even doesn't hurt to put the word on there like that. For this little bit, this tape works perfect. Okay. A little bit of paint, dab off, and then we're just dabbing on. And when you have these sponges, after you use them for one color, you can take scissors and cut the end off. And they last for a good while. I'd say we use sponges probably up to the little, there's a little line on the sponge. We'll use it all the way up to that point. So you could get pretty good life out of these sponges. So don't just use it once and pitch it. Just cut the end off with scissors and keep using it. I mean, I do still paint some things with a paintbrush, more detailed work, but stuff like this, I do a lot of painting with just a sponge. It just has such a clean, crisp finish without paint dripping down the sides, because I cannot stand that. Okay, and again, if you need to go over it for colors that are more transparent, then go right over it. Okay, so that's all the pieces for the everyday one, because I've sprayed my welcome to my home. That's all white. The three little houses, those are white, and then the background of this is white. I also have the rooftop that is black. So we're going to go ahead and start putting this one together. I told you these sets do not take very long. As long as you have a plan and you know what you're doing. And this is black too. I forgot about that. I always spray paint my black and white. That's why they're already done, but just letting you all know what color it is. So take your glue, put your little house frame on, make sure it's lined up, and then you're going to take your gather word goes in there, and then the two leaves. So one at the bottom, one at the top. Now when you're gluing these on there, there is a little tab on the bottom. Do not put your piece down in that tab, because that tab's got to sit down in your bench so that the piece stays up. So just a little reminder so that your piece stands up. Okay, gather in the middle. One leaf on top. My glue is almost out, so I'm just shaking it. Leaf at the top, leaf at the bottom. Okay. Make sure your leaves are pretty like even. Okay, little house is done. See how quick that was? Okay, now we're gonna do this piece next. Black background, glaze frame. Okay. Now again, there's a little tab at the bottom of this one too. So just try your best to line it up and leave that tab exposed. See that tab right there? There you go. Okay, now this one, this green piece goes at the top, so we're going to start with that. Because actually, before we glue it down, let's go ahead and put our words in so that we know that we've got enough room to, because there's no etching for this one, so you're going to have to do your best with lining it up. H-O-M. Now the word home, I usually just line it up by like the bottom line of the frame and just go off of that to to make sure that it's straight. Okay, so we have enough room, so I'm going to start with the greenery. I'll probably start with the greenery and then go down to the word home and then just do the middle last because I want to make sure all is well. Okay. And I'm going to do home. Again, just go off of the bottom line. If you look at all of them off that bottom line, they should end up pretty straight. Okay. Now you have a few seconds to move them. They're not like super set in stone, but you know, most of you know how this glue is. You got only a few seconds before it is where it is. Okay, I'm going back to welcome. Welcome to now I might go back at the end and put a few little highlights on this. I don't know, I might just let it be. It's hard for me to not put highlights on things. So that's how that piece is. Okay, there's that. Now we're gonna do the big piece next. So, move some of these out of the way. Okay, this gets the two rectangular pieces. Now there's no really right or wrong as to where those go. You just want to make sure that you have room for your wreath. Oh goodness, my phone is dropping into a pile of paint. Look at that. Goodness. Okay, let me set this up somewhere else. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to glue down the wreath first, and then the two little long pieces. That way I just know that I have room and that my these pieces are even. And there's like a little piece that didn't get green on it. There we go. Okay, and again, don't cover this tab at the bottom. If you go to the very bottom instead of up a little bit, do not cover the tab because you're gonna need that. Okay, next. Okay, we're gonna eyeball this and just use your best judgment on whether it's straight. It doesn't have to be perfect, but sometimes if you look at it from afar. So the 3 gray dots, there's 3 on top, 3 on bottom. So we're gonna start with the middle dot. That way you know it's center. You could also go by the lines that are etched in the background too. That's probably what I'll do. Put one in the center of each. I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a minute. You might want to scoot them over, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. But you don't have very long before you're going to have to, or you can't move it. Okay, so see how there's in the center of each column? That's just, that way you know that it's straight. These would be pretty black too if you want to change colors around. Okay, for the banner, I also want to tell you all, if you haven't figured it out by now, that if you have glazed pieces that are still just a little bit wet, be careful with the glue, because if glue gets outside of your piece onto the wet stain, it does like to spread when it dries. And it'll leave a little like white mark. But as long as you keep it within reason and not like a ridiculous amount of glue, you're usually fine. I had to learn that the hard way. And stain also leaves glue marks if you like try to move a piece over on stain, it will show up once it's dry. So I try to put my piece where it's going to go and not move it. Okay. 3 little houses, 2 little wreaths. And then the 3 gray hearts go in the center of the house. And then we just got to string up our banner. And we are ready to put it on our bench. So I can show you all what it looks like. Okay. Oh my gosh, I did it again. What in the world? Okay. We're going to move this. I'm going to move this. I need something heavy. I'm going to move this over here. That ain't working either. Use this big thing. I have the little loopy thing on the back and it's like not allowing it to sit up. Okay. Through the back. You can always move these, but I try to make it pretty center on the string. Through the back, through the front, through the back, through the front. Okay. It's quiet around here. My husband had to take one child to work. She got a job. She's 15. At the drive-in up the street. Had to take one kid to work. Pick the other kid up at volleyball open gyms. So it is quiet. Okay, those are pretty even. Got my bench here. I'm gonna try to do this backwards just so you guys can see what it looks like. This is where the tabs make it nice, because you don't have to worry about them falling over. Again, this is hard to see. I can't see anything actually. Turn this around. I was gonna try, but I just can't. Okay, there's that piece. There's that piece. And I am going to flip this around for the banner because I think I can do it. Okay. And then the banner goes on the bottom. There's these 2 little loops here. You wrap it around or tie it around, whichever. It's again really hard to do backwards, but you get the point. And there's that one. That was easy. You guys got this. That's a simple project. Even if you are not crafty or you don't feel like you have the skill to paint, you really do. You do. Okay. That's the everyday one. I'm going to take the pieces out and let it dry all the way. Okay, next one. Sunflower. Okay, I'm going to take the glazed pieces first. I'm going to get a drink, I'm thirsty. Alright. The frame of the sunflower, and then all the centers of the sunflower are all glazed or stained, whichever. We're going to use our tape here. It's not quite long enough for all of them, but it's going to make most of them easier to paint. One little dab of stain will take you probably through all of these. Like, that's how far the glaze goes. Like, it really doesn't take a whole lot. And if you're doing a project and you want the stain a little darker, I personally like the color it is, but if you want it darker, just paint it first, and then at the end, go back over and do another coat, and each coat will allow it to be darker and darker. Now we got the frame. Now for the sunflower one, obviously we're gonna use like a marigold color for the sunflowers, but I'm doing mine in teals because you know your girls love teal. So I'm doing like a medium teal and a dark teal, but you are more than welcome, obviously, to use whatever colors you like or whatever fits your home. There's 2 leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and use that same green that I have out, the desert cactus, just because I love it so much. So while I have a sponge for that, we'll go ahead and do that. You can make it a different green if you'd like. Okay. Those 2 are done. Now we're gonna do the flowers, marigold. Mine's in a bottle like this, but it's deco art and it's called marigold, and I use it for sunflower everything. I just love it. I'm gonna get me a new sponge. Dab off. We're just gonna dab, dab, dab. It's the name of the game. It just goes right over those edging lines. Sometimes when I do paint parties, I have so many people that ask me if they have to paint within the lines or if they can go over the lines. And obviously, sometimes if you use a paintbrush, it can get down in the lines, but if you're using a sponge, it will go over those edge lines beautiful. Or if you have ones that have words, it will go over them without going down in the cracks. Sometimes people will use too much paint with paintbrushes, which is why it goes down in the cracks, but with the sponge, it's like just the right amount of paint. And it's light, flat coats. Okay. I also am going to try to figure out, if I was smart, one thing at a time. But I believe that you can go live from YouTube into this group, and then I wouldn't have to transfer the video. It would just already be there, but I'm definitely not that tech savvy yet. One thing at a time. Okay, so here's all the free flowers, but on this jar, there's actually 3 more that are attached to stems, so we need to paint those too. When you get super close to the stem, I just take my sponge, and if you squeeze it together, it gets like a little rounded edge, and I'll just use it to get real close to that stem without actually getting on the stem. Takes a little practice. That middle one is pretty close to the stem though, but even if you go over, you can always go over top of it with the green. It's going to cover the marigold. I probably will have to use a brush for these stems, just because they're such a narrow spot. Okay, let me find a little brush. I'm just going to use like this size. Dip it in my green. And make a line when it gets down to that jar top, because you don't want to go down into the jar. I mean, I guess you could if you made a clear jar and you wanted the stems to go to the bottom, but then you'd have to freehand them. Here's that. Okay, so the green and the marigold is done. So the sunflower word, this little piece, and this little piece are all going to be the darker teal. These are from Home Depot, so I don't really have a paint color name, but in the light doesn't really show very well. But there's one that's a lighter teal, one that's a darker teal. So these three pieces will be the darker teal. Dab your sponge in, dab off. It's one of those letters. I just love this color. Probably the lighting in here isn't that great, so you can't really see truly how pretty it is. Okay, there's the dark teal. Move this out of the way. Sometimes with teal too, you might have to do a second coat because some teals are not very, don't have very good coverage. Especially if you're buying it in one of these craft paint bottles. Home Depot paints a little bit better about it, but. Okay, this one, and again, if you wanted this to be more realistic, like an actual cutting board, you could definitely glaze it. I'm just going to paint it teal. I went ahead and spray painted my white pieces, of course, for this one too. Made me think of it because the home letters are white on this. I love to see when people paint them different ways. Sometimes it's just you can't think of things unless you see them. That's why I always like to just give you guys an option of seeing it painted. Because I can be like that sometimes too. It's like ways you would have never thought to paint it unless you see someone else paint it that way. Okay, I have a little pokey tool. Sometimes I like to just run it. These are from Harbor Freight. And I just run it down there to clean that line. And there went my phone. Okay, there's that piece. You really can't tell what color that is. It does not look like that. Okay, now we're going to go in with the light teal. I'm going to cut my sponge off so we're not wasteful. See? Got life in it. So we're going to do these, the bottom jar, and I believe that's it for the light teal. Lighter teal. Gotta find some room on my foil here. Okay. You definitely want to make sure that there's like somewhat of a different, like the teals aren't too close in color, just because this piece goes on the jar, that's the lighter teal. You just want to make sure that you can tell that it's a different teal. So just keep that in mind when you're painting it, or if you're doing a different color and you're doing two different shades. And don't forget to paint your little piece that goes down in the slot. Just because you don't see it, you don't want to leave it unfinished. What's it called? A little tab. This teal definitely takes 2 coats. Okay. So see how this, you want to be able to see the darker color. I'm going to straighten up my little green stem line. My sponge. Okay, setting that aside, we have 5 of these banner pieces. If you wanted to, you could do light teal, dark teal, light teal, dark teal. You could stain them. You could do every other, you could do 3 different colors. I'm just going to do mine all the same teal just because I feel like with the sunflowers and the stain and the leaves, like sometimes you don't want to get too many colors in there because then it's got way too much going on. Sometimes less is more, so they say. Okay. After this, we're going to assemble, and that is that. And then we've almost put together 2 bench sets. And again, I guess these flowers don't necessarily have to be sunflowers. Well, I guess they do. It does say sunflowers. I was thinking they don't have to be, but unless you want to leave that sunflower word out and just make it different colored flowers, whatever. Whatever goes with, whatever your heart desires. Okay, next. Don't be afraid to use your sponge like swiping. You don't have to just dab. You can swipe too. If you have a, it depends on the paint. Some paint is so thick that you can't drag it, but some paint you can drag just fine. Same as the glaze. Just make sure that you got a nice even coat. And like this piece has a little wood grain shown through, so that one's definitely gonna need a second coat. Just to cover that little grainy line. Okay. We'll leave the banner last just so it can dry, but we can go ahead and start putting, let's put this big piece together. So the Farm Fresh picked, let's say pick your own. I did that one white. And again, if you're painting this white and it has these little etchings, I would definitely use a sponge so that it doesn't glob through. If you use a brush, this will glob through and fill in, and you don't want that. The other thing I love about spray paint is you don't have to worry about that because it just shows up just like this. But I know not everybody has the capability to spray paint, but if you have a piece of cardboard, you can throw it out in the yard. I would highly recommend spray painting your white. There's no crisper, cleaner white than that. You just got to give it enough time to dry, which in this heat, it dries pretty quick. So put your stain frame on. Okay. And then you want your sunflower word. It's going to say Farm Fresh Sunflowers. I would definitely go ahead and make sure your big sunflower can fit in there before you go putting the words on. So it's the biggest sunflower that goes on there. I usually always try to lay out my pieces to make sure that everything fits before I glue them down, just because I've made way too many mistakes in the past of not doing that and having to completely start over. So I almost always lay everything out and then glue. The center of this is one of the biggest centers, which I believe, if you don't know which one's the biggest, just start stacking them and then you can figure it out. Okay, there's one piece down. Okay, next piece, we'll go ahead and do the cutting board. Mine's not all the way dry, but dry enough. Okay, we're going to do, my letters are white, which really stands out on this teal. And then the medium sunflower goes right there for the O. So again, lay your stuff out so you know you got enough room and everything has its place. And we're just eyeballing it. Okay. Now we gotta find, okay, there's that big piece. Trying to find which center goes where. Let's see, we got two. This one's bigger. I don't know if that goes there or not. Hold on. Trying to find the ones that all go together. Okay, these three are the same size. That is the biggest, medium, small. Okay, it takes a little configuring to figure out which center goes where, but you guys can figure it out. I think this might be too big. Let's see. No. One back with that. Okay. So far, cute. This welcome tag, you can do a couple different things. You could just glue it on there. You could take a piece of jute and tie it on there. Let me see. Not sure what's going to work best, so I'm just going to give it a try. The jute, you want to double over and push through the back. And then make a loop and then put the loop through to where it gives you this. Because if you just put it through and try to connect it on there, it's probably not going to lay flat. If you hang it on the bottom, it covers up the sunflower. So let's try the top hole in the cutting board. I think I might split, and you do not need this much string. You could probably just cut a tiny piece off of what I sent with you, or you could, if you had something laying around the house. Okay, I'm gonna try, so I split the two pieces and put it around the center, and then I'm gonna try to make a bow at the top and see what that looks like. Still not really loving it. Let me retry. Sometimes I'm winging this as much as you are. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is cut my strings so they're not so long. This is how it is, but see how it hangs straight down? I think I'm going to take a little piece of glue and glue it to the side a little bit just so it's not, I feel like it's just hanging straight down to where you don't see the hole. Actually, if you just take it and move it down the loop to the side, it does the job. It kind of hangs sideways instead of hanging straight down. Because if it hangs straight down, I don't know, to me it just looks too forced. Like not as natural. So there's that. Okay, next is the jar. We are going to glue our centers on. After you've done, try to figure out what goes where. Okay, one of these goes on the jar. So the three sunflowers that are left, obviously you want those all three to be the same size because they go on the banner. So what's left is a bigger flower I'm going to put this little tie on the bottom of the jar. Do not cover that little tab. Again, because you do not want it to not be able to sit down in the bench. Forgot to glue the center of this. So you're left with this bigger sunflower, and it's just going to go at the top of the jar. I'll show you in just a second. So it looks like a little bouquet. I am definitely going to highlight on this little ribbon on the bottom because I feel like it doesn't look like a ribbon unless we make it look like a ribbon. That didn't really help anything either though. Okay, take that back. Wet wipe. And we're going back over it with the dark teal. That was a no-go. Made it look worse than just leaving it. Okay. Back to normal. Okay, last piece is the banner. We're going to lay our pieces out. Every other one is a sunflower, and we got to glue our centers on. I forgot that I didn't have the centers of these three. Might as well just go ahead and glue them down. Make sure you don't hit your finger on the center of that and move it without realizing it. I've done that too. Okay, there's that one. Last one, and then we got our leaves. Come on, glue. Okay. So I think I'm going to put one leaf one direction, one leaf the other direction, not the same. Come on, glue. Okay. Okay. All right, we're ready to string this puppy up, and we are DUN done. Okay, let me put this back before I knock it off. Now, if you wanted to take a little sponge or a marker and outline your banners, I do that sometimes. On this particular one, I'm probably going to leave it. But if you want to put polka dots in the background of the like leaf piece, that would be cute. If you got a really steady hand, it would be super cute to put stripes on the leaf ones. It'd probably be too busy for the sunflower pieces, but it would add character to the leaf pieces. Just some ideas. Okay, let me make sure my pieces are even. Okay, move this out of the way and bring my bench over. This sunflower one would be really cute on a stained bench. We don't have a stained one, but if you had a stained one, this would be really cute. And a jar. I love that. That is so cute. You know me, I'm all about the teal, but the teal pops on that black and with the yellow. Cute. That is so cute. Okay, guys, that is it. I will take some pictures tomorrow because I know some of you don't like to take the time to watch the videos and you just look at the pictures. So I will take pictures tomorrow and get those posted. And that is it. If anybody has any questions or concerns or troubles, you can always send me a message. I'm always here to help. But that is, guys, have a good night.